there's a popular duality that's been created lately within politics of globalists versus regular folks. The globalist elite versus the ordinary little people. As though such a division really exists in the universe. It doesn't. This is the delusion of many, both left-wing and right-wing populist movements, is that they think that they can separate these two. But in fact, there's not that much difference psychologically between elites and regular folk. In fact, I would say that most elites are more educated, they're more conscious, they're more developed, they're actually more loving people than regular folk. That's difficult for many populists to swallow. But if you don't understand this, it will actually lead to a lot of problems within your politics. Your politics simply won't work. Because see, if you think the regular folk are actually better than the elites, and you think that the elites are evil and they're bad and they're all sociopaths and they don't care about anybody except themselves, all they want is money to rule the world. If that's how you think, which is a popular way to think, some of them are like that. But what you have to understand, though, is that the regular folk, most regular folk are uneducated and they don't have a very high level of development, cognitively, morally, spiritually. If you take some regular folk and you put them into positions of power, they will start to abuse that power even worse than the elites that you despise. Because the regular folk are less well-educated. They're more dogmatic and ideological in many cases. They're less open-minded in many cases. And they don't even recognize how corruption can infect them, so they become even more corrupt. And we see this. You see this especially with the recent populist uprisings on the right in America and in other parts of the world. These right populist uprisings, they're very, very low consciousness. These people fool themselves into thinking that they're going to take over the globalist elites and they're going to, the ordinary people, the ordinary right-wing folk are going to take over the government and things will go well. No, those ordinary right-wing folk are the most corrupt, the most unconscious, the most fearful, the most hateful, the most racist, some of the most of those in all of society. So it's extremely dangerous to let those people take power. And even though I say that, that doesn't mean I necessarily, defend some of these elitist capitalists. I mean, there's definitely deep corruptions within the elites themselves. But the thing you have to recognize is that no matter how much corruption you see in the elites, the corruption in the lower classes is way worse than it is in the elites. And that's the key mistake that many Trumpists and supporters of Trump and right-wing populism make. And that's exactly really, it's an analogous to the problem that happened with Hitler. See, I mean, Hitler's whole spiel was that he was sort of taking over Germany from the globalist elites on behalf of the regular folk. That was Hitler's whole appeal. It's really not different from Trump's appeal or many of the right-wing populist appeals around the world these days. It's just not, I mean, I'm not saying they're of equal severity. They're not of equal severity. Trump is better than Hitler, but there are definitely deep analogies there. And you see what happens when these right-wing regular folk take over. Bad stuff happens. Now, that does not mean that when left-wing populists take over, bad stuff doesn't happen either. Bad stuff happens all around. Like I said in my wisdom episode, there's a lot of foolishness to go around on both sides, right? So take that into account.